Hey guys, welcome to video number 2 of the vlog. I'm really excited to be getting some equipment ordered, but I felt like it was only responsible to answer the most common question that is asked of someone who hasn't done beekeeping but is interested in getting into it. And that question is, do honeybees sting? Yes, honeybees sting. The next question is, does it hurt? Yes, it does hurt, not as badly as what you would think. The biggest thing about a honeybee sting is that it is true. Once they sting you, their stinger is barbed and it has a little venom sac that's attached to it. And once it stings you, or your clothes, or whatever it stings, that stinger stays put. The bee flies away or pulls away, it pulls the stinger out, and unfortunately, our little honeybee dies from it. The main thing about the sting, or actually stings, that you will get, if you go into beekeeping, you will get stung no matter what you do. The best thing to do is once you get stung, you don't start flailing around and you're just, swatting around, because that movement agitates the bees. That will encourage you to get stung another time too, whatever. So the main thing is you take your hive tool or, your fingernail and just scratch the stinger out. The actual stinger itself doesn't really hurt. It's the little venom, and that venom sac keeps pumping tiny little bits of venom into you, and you just scratch it out. Now this stinger is tiny, absolutely tiny. I don't know if you guys can really see this, but this is the stinger, that's the venom sac, and this is your honeybee trying to pull away from it. Now, once you've gotten the stinger out, a sting typically only hurts for a few minutes to, I would say, an hour tops, but very rapidly after you've been stung, the pain does start to go away. And to me, it's more of a burning sensation. What I found was where you got stung. That really makes a difference. If you get stung in an armpit, in the bend of a finger, or, your neck, those are sensitive areas. Areas anywhere that the skin doesn't get rubbed normally. Those are definitely the most aggravating. To me, it's an aggravation. It's not really as much pain. Now, the next question is, why do honeybees sting? Really, the only reason that they want to sting is to get you away from their colony. If you are near the hive, that's when you're most likely to get stung by a honeybee. As children, we run around barefooted, and you might step on one in the yard that's on a flower. They'll sting you then. If you approach the entrance of a colony or a wild beehive, if you approach it straight at the entrance, and you mess around with the entrance to that colony, they're going to come out of there, and they're going to let you know that they don't appreciate you trying to invade their home. The best rule of thumb when you're dealing with honeybees and you're in question of, am I going to get stung? Or am I doing something that I'm going to get stung for? Honeybees remarkably are a lot like humans. Okay, if somebody just showed up at your house and just walks in the front door, you don't know them, you've never seen them before, and they just walk in, how happy are you going to be about it? You're going to be maybe aggressive toward them, you're going to talk aggressively. And the way honeybees talk to us, letting us know they're displeased, the first thing that they'll do if you're wearing a veil is you'll notice they go for your face. And it's the carbon dioxide in your breath that they're targeting. So they start bouncing off of your veil. And it's like they're little dive bombers, they're pecking on your veil, and you can hear them. There's just kind of a tap, tap, tap. And that's kind of their warning to let you know, look, you've done something we don't like. We're in a bad mood. You need to back off. And the best way to do is, if you're already in the colony, just close the lid back and just start walking away from them. Another reason that honeybees will be agitated or ill is another thing that, just like humans, if it's been bad weather, if it's been rainy for a few days, if it's been really overcast, seems like if it's windy, just bad weather in general, they're going to be ill. And I like to wait 2-3 days if I can after bad weather to work my colonies or even go around them. I would not recommend driving a lawnmower right in front of the colonies. I always place them to where you could mow around them, but not really get right in front of the colony. Because, you imagine some big loud sound that you've never heard before driving right in front of your house. It's going to get you a little upset and a little nervous, and that's what it does to them. They don't like it. Also, kind of a funny story. One of my buddies came over and he was on his lawnmower and it had a front exhaust, and he pulled up toward the colonies for some reason, and that exhaust was blowing in the entrance, and I'm going to tell you, they ate him up. They absolutely, he had to leave his mower running and he took off running. It's absolutely hilarious to hear him talking about it on the phone when he called me. So, just that hive, that's their home. So you've got to treat them with respect. Be careful about how you're around them. You don't want to run up to it. You don't want to make a lot of noise when you're around it. Flip side of that is it's also really easy to plan when you want to work your hives, when your girls are going to be calm. And the best time is if you've had a couple of days of clear skies, sunny weather, calm wind. No like major windstorms or anything. You want it calm. You want it relaxed. And over that couple of days before you work your colonies, and you're a starting beekeeper, you're just going to have a couple probably. The best thing to do is watch your colonies. Check on them every couple of hours through the day, and if you see them just kind of coming and going, there's not like just a ton of activity going on, but you see them coming and going calmly. You can sit next to the hive. If they're bringing in a lot of pollen on their hind legs, or if they're just coming in and even don't have a lot of pollen, more than likely they are carrying nectar. So they're bringing food in and out. They're very calm during these conditions, and they're very, very docile. The next thing I'll get into is that different breeds of honeybees can affect how calm your girls are. There are about 44 subspecies of the honeybee. I made a list of some of my favorites that I've dealt with and that I have experienced, but I also have a breed that I'm going to try this time for a couple of reasons, and we'll get to that. The first breed is the Italian honeybee. It is probably the most calm, mild-mannered, as far as temperament. They put up with you working their colony a lot. I won't say that it takes a lot to agitate them, but it takes more than other breeds. They're kind of just well-rounded. They're a decent honey producer. They are pretty good about their spring buildup. Queens don't lay eggs during the coldest months of the year while they're clustered. One of the most common misconceptions you hear of a swarm of bees, that is the most calm that honeybees ever are. People say a swarm. It's just an intimidating term, and it's very misleading. A swarm of honeybees is actually the way that honeybees reproduce. You will come to learn to look at your colonies as one organism, one being. And when they want to multiply, the queen will leave the colony and take up to around half to 3/4 of the colony's workers with her. And they cluster on a tree limb or a car or whatever, but you'll see this ball of bees, and somewhere in that ball is the queen, and that is technically what a swarm of honeybees is. And you can literally reach in and grab a handful of these bees, and more than likely, you will not get stung. I won't say you won't get stung, because as soon as you try it thinking that, one of them's going to bomb you right in the face. But put that out of your mind. Don't look at a swarm. And it's, to me, one of the most beautiful things in nature to see just this cloud of bees leave the colony. And it's just like just a cloud, a small little cloud of bees. And they fly through there and they land on something and they cluster. They all hug up together. And while they're there, they're sending workers out, scouts. They're sending them out and they're looking for a new home. The rest of them are just hanging out, protecting the queen, and they are super docile. You're not likely to get stung at all. Another common question is, does the queen sting? I've handled a lot of queens, never got stung. I've read stories about beekeepers who've kept bees for 30, 40 years, never got stung. Yes, the queen can sting, but as far as my knowledge, for the most part, the only time a queen stings is to kill another queen. When the hive is swarmed out and that queen has left, they make a new queen, but they don't just make one. They make a whole bunch of queens, queen cells, that we'll get into later on in this vlog. Not this particular one, but a later video. What happens is the first queen that emerges, the first thing she will do is she will run around the colony, up and down every single comb in there, and she will find queen cells, and she will sting through the wall of that cell to kill that other young queen. It is a fight for survival for them, and they will sting each other. They'll fight. Most of the time they don't. It doesn't actually end in a sting. It ends in one of them getting injured, and she will be pushed out of the colony and more than likely just die unless she gets lucky and finds a colony that is queenless, which they will invite her in. So to answer that question about will you get stung by a queen, it is highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Now, different breeds of honeybees are more and less aggressive. If you are you're just dying to become a beekeeper, but you really don't want to get stung, the Italian honeybee, that's the one that I would recommend for you. And you guys, you want to do some studies. You want to get online and educate yourself on these different breeds of honeybees. And that's one thing that's important about this vlog that I'm doing with you, is that you may not know that there's more than one honeybee. There's actually about 44 subspecies of honeybees. And there's a few of them that are the favorites. And right now, the favorites are the Italian, the Carniolan, the Russian, and the Saskatraz. As I was saying, the Italian honeybee is the most common for beekeepers. It's the most well-tempered as far as letting you come into their colony and work and pull the frames out and look for your queen, checking your brood patterns. They're very, very tolerant. Now the Carniolan, that is a beautiful bee. The queen is like just pure gold. She's this yellow gold color. She's beautiful. They are kind of in the mid-range of temperament, and I have had experience with them, and I really enjoyed working them. And again, go online and look up the specifics of each one, but the Carniolan is definitely not as well-tempered as the Italian, but they are a little bit better honey producers, and I'm pretty sure that they are a little bit more cold weather hardy. So if you live in a climate where it's a little bit colder, the Carniolans might be a good pick for you. Now let's talk about the a little bit more aggressive bee that people keep commonly, and that's the Russian honeybee. Those guys can be almost jet black. They are a dark honeybee. They almost look more aggressive. They're workers, all of them. They're just a very dark bee. They almost look like a ground bee if you want to look them up. I've never kept Russians much. I have had queens that I suspected were hybrids of maybe an Italian and a Russian cross. But as far as purebred Russian honeybees, I can't really speak on those, but I do know that they are very cold weather hardy. And if you live up in the northern U.S., I think they're a good breed. They are supposed to be really good honey producers. And I think they start building their brood pattern up earlier toward spring than the other breeds. Now this brings me to where I'm learning and you're learning and we're going to learn together. The Saskatraz hybrid honeybee is supposed to be, I'm gonna have to look it up, to be honest. I'm gonna have to do a little more research, but it was bred in Saskatchewan, Canada, and they were bred to be hygienic bees. And I found a lot of my problems that I had with my colonies in the past was the varroa mite. It's just like a tick. They are a tick for a honeybee, and you can see them riding on the thorax, I believe it's the thorax, of the honeybee. They just ride on the back, but they get into the brood, and that's where your problems really start. And these Saskatraz bees apparently are very good at keeping these varroa mites out of the brood, off of each other, out of the colony. In my area, I believe that was one of my bigger problems. My mite counts were usually up higher than they should be. So I'm going to try to order the Saskatraz bees. And you guys can look forward to me also. You know, I'm going to end up catching some swarms. So we'll probably end up with some Italians, Carniolans, or Russians. We're going to have all kinds of honeybees. And we're going to get to compare them to one another. And I'm going to show you how their brood patterns change, how they collect nectar differently. It's going to be a really fun adventure. So that's where we're at on this first little vlog. I know I kind of went off away from the first, the main question of getting stung. So to wrap this little edition up, yes, honeybees sting. Yes, it hurts. And yes, you will get used to it. You will get to where it's just a nuisance. It's just another thing that happens, except when they sting you right there. That was my Achilles heel. When them suckers would sting me right in the bend of the finger. The thing that helps the most, surprisingly, is not wearing gloves. I think the only reason that I would get stung in that area is because wearing those big, thick leather gloves that are supposed to protect you. When a bee is just walking around, not intending you any harm, but you can't feel her walking around on you, and you bend that finger and squeeze her a little bit, of course she's going to sting you. I would sting me too. So, just be mindful of what you're doing with them and the environment, the weather, all those factors play a difference. But if you play it safe and you don't push them, they're not going to push back. So, if you guys have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments. I'd love to have some material to talk about these girls. I absolutely love the honeybee, and I look forward to teaching you guys more about them. The next video will be about us getting some equipment, and then we'll be getting some honeybees. Thank you guys for joining me. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a great day.